Hey YouTube, Mark Kaufman here, and today I am going to be restoring these two knives. Now, this is currently what they look like. You can see that there is a little bit of wear and tear on this one. This is the one that I've been waiting for, and it doesn't really want to snap in place, but this is a Schrade 80T. And I mean, there's a lot of life left in these blades. This one here, I mean, there's just rust, a little bit of rust and corrosion, which isn't really allowing it to snap close. We're gonna see if that's gonna be able to do that. Then on this one, you can see there's a little bit of rust, and I mean, it doesn't really want to snap. There's no real snap to it, but you can see that there's a lot of life in this blade. This blade has a lot of life left, and closing it, I mean, really this one just doesn't have a lot of spring in it. And you can see there's quite a bit of rust there. So we are going to go into an in-depth video here on how I restore both of these. Now this one here is in a little bit better condition. Not going to really have to do anything to the blades here. I'm going to actually just be taking care of the bolsters, the brass here, and just polishing those up. And you can see this one actually wants to snap in place. But yeah, this one here, not in that bad a condition, but this one here, yeah, this one's going to be a little bit of work. And you know what? I forgot to do this in the last video, and just trying to get this open. These blades are still very sharp, so I'm trying to be careful, but I didn't do this in the last one. But there we go. That's what the inside is looking like. Not pretty. So we're gonna go into my restoration of both of these. So yeah, these are in, at least this one, these blades really need a lot of work. So we're gonna go on into that, and I will talk to you later. I think I'm gonna do mostly voiceover for the rest of these clips, and then I'll have the conclusion. So here we go. So here we are, guys. This is the beginning of the restoration on this knife. Now I'm going to be doing a voiceover throughout all these videos. I have cut out most of the audio, if not all of the audio, primarily because it's noisy. I have a radio playing in the background. It just doesn't really add to the video quality in any way. So right now, I usually add a little bit of alcohol to my knife. It's primarily to sanitize, get it cleaned off a little bit, and just get ready for all the major work that I'm going to be doing on it. And all I'm doing here is just adding a little bit of alcohol, cleaning it off, trying to figure out what's actually there and what's not. Because usually the alcohol will get rid of the dust, the dirt that's on the surface area, and it will allow you to really find out what the problems are on the knife. Now, when it comes to refinishing the blades, I usually only use 120 grit sandpaper. This is just to get rid of the pitting on the blades. Now, I did this process on all three of the blades on this knife, and was it necessary? No, not really, but I wanted to get a finish that was acceptable in my mind, while at the same time keeping the age of the knife alive on the blades. So I didn't go all the way with making these blades absolutely brand new looking. You can go that route, don't get me wrong, but for me, I just didn't want to. It's a lot of work and it requires a lot of concentration. Now you can see here already that just after a few passes, that sandpaper is going to do its job very, very quickly, and it does it very well. But be sure to keep your knife flat on the surface you're working on. It can round off the edges if you don't keep that blade flat. Now here I'm just reusing the sandpaper that I did the refinishing on the blades, and I am trying to get rid of some of the pitting that is on these back springs. I ended up going all the way and leveling out one of the sides of these back springs just because it wasn't aesthetically pleasing to me to see a back spring that sunk down into the scale. So what I ended up doing is I sat here for quite a while and I flattened out this side of the spring until it was flush with the bolster, the liners, and the spring, and I think it came out very, very well. Now here I am refinishing the back spring, and this is just to get a uniformed finish on the back. Now I'm going to be doing this to the blades, and I'm also going to be doing this to the bolsters. The bolsters actually have a satined side and then a polished front. On these old timers, that is just how they did it, and it made manufacturing very easy and quick for these knives to be finished and put together. Now at this point, I am now polishing the bolsters, and I am just putting that final shine on the bolsters. And the primary point of doing any of this is to maybe get rid of a few dents, maybe some deep surface scratches. But remember, nickel silver is pretty soft, so you're going to be removing quite a bit of material if you go about it this way. I am not spending a lot of time on either bolster or even on the shield. I am just going to get the luster out of that nickel silver and get this thing to look good. Now at this point, this is what we've got, and I think it's looking really, really good. At this step, I'm just getting rid of the rust that's inside the handles and on the blades. The final finishing of this knife will happen later, but this is just to get rid of all that pesky rust that might be left over after all this work. Now, unfortunately, the rust removing product that I use does discolor the blades, but that's okay. I am actually going to be refinishing these blades and getting them into their final finished state. So this is just going to be the final finishing of the blades. I'm putting a satin uniform finish on every single blade while at the same time getting the spine of the blade and retouching up anything that I may have damaged for the body of the knife. That will be probably the springs, or it may even be the inside of the handle. This wheel will take care of it and get everything back to where I want it to be. And finally, we're at the final stage. This is final polishing of the knife handle and of the bolsters. This is just making sure that none of those scratches that happened after cleaning and getting the rust out are still present on the bolsters. Now, these bolsters don't need a lot of time or a lot of pressure under this polishing wheel, so I don't spend a lot of time on any of it. It's just to get a few scratches off of it and make this thing look good at the end. And that is it. It is finally done, and this is just the final wipe down. I'm just getting rid of all the gunk and grime that might be left on this. And what's left on this knife to be done is to sharpen it up, oil it up, and get it back into my pocket. So I hope you guys enjoyed this process, and I hope it helps you guys out with maybe a restoration you were planning on doing. So that is how it all goes down when I refurbish a knife. Now, the total amount of work was about an hour to 2 hours if I didn't take any breaks. Now, I did take a few breaks, so it took me about 4 hours within the day to get all of that work done. Now, this one, which is the 3.4 OT, I didn't show this as much in the video or at all because there wasn't all that much to do on it. But I will tell you this, the inside of this knife looks a lot cleaner than what we started out with. So this one also has more spring to it. Well, unlike that one, this one does not. This is the Schrade 8OT. I think it is the 80T or 8OT. And this one came out great, really good. The blades on this really came out great. That 120 grit sandpaper really does the trick. Now the thing is this really doesn't have much spring in it. It was like that from the beginning, and unfortunately that's just this specimen that I've got just doesn't have a very good spring for the main blade. Tough stuff, but the sheep's foot blade, it's decent, but still it doesn't have that great spring. It still closes, but it's nothing like this one. Now the scales definitely cleaned up. The spade blade does have some spring in it, which this is really the blade that I use the most on a Stockman anyways, and that one actually snaps closed. Now the back here, I actually sanded down this side here to make it all flush across the back, and I think it really came out great. That did take some time, but it's definitely worth it when you work on it. And there's still some gunk oozing out of this thing, but that comes with the territory on an old knife like this. But if you guys would like one of your knives refurbished by me, just let me know. I have my email in my YouTube description, and just let me know and we can talk about it. And that's how this one came out. Yeah, it's not what I wanted spring wise. I thought that was more gunk than anything, but it just ended up being the knife. But other than that, both of these knives came out great, and it really will give it a little more life in the long run. So if you guys really enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. And if you would like me to do another refurbished video, I'll find another knife on eBay to do that on. So thank you guys again for checking out my channel and enjoying this video. It was a lot of hard work, but I enjoyed doing this. So thank you guys again. I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye-bye.